Hi everyone, welcome to the live stream. Hello everyone. I am Ellie, and today you are joining Streams of Collective Consciousness. It is my live stream that I do every Tuesday and Fridays. So on Tuesdays I go live from like 4 p.m. Central Time to 6:30 Central Time, and then on Fridays there's a new time, so it's from 9 a.m. 9 a.m. to like 11:30-ish in the morning. I work evenings, so gotta find times that work for the live stream. But so happy that you are either watching the live stream or the recorded live stream. Either one is amazing. And yeah, I'm super excited to get into it. I do talk about sustainable fashion, environmentalism, and social justice. And yeah, I'm excited to get into the news. There's a lot going on with different major brands, such as Primark launching a repair workshop in the United States for the first time. And then there is Target creating digital IDs for their clothing for some reason in the name of circular fashion. And then THREDUP is launching a vintage collection for some reason. I don't know what the heck is going on. They released like 20,000 plus pieces for this collection, which is crazy if you think about it. And then Levi's is like suing a brand called Premier brand that counterfeits. And yeah, Wikipedia is launching a responsible brand apparently, which I don't really know is possible because it's Wikipedia. But yeah, there's a bunch of top headliners like those that we're going to talk about, but we're also going to talk about like sustainable fashion fits from those that went to BAFTAs. We're going to talk about Denver Fashion Week, all that good stuff. I do use a Canva sort of slide deck thing to keep my thoughts structured because I do go on a lot of tangents. So here is the Canva deck I use where all the news is at. If you look at the bottom, you can see all the news here. So it's just like the title and like the link if you want to go to it. So if you don't want to watch the entire thing, if you're watching the recorded version, you can skip through, go through the Canva, and I guess learn or hear about certain news that you want. I can't guarantee I'll get through everything because it is just a lot, and I have a very janky setup. I don't even have a PC setup, and I don't have good Wi-Fi, so I may end off sooner than later. But yeah, how it works on Tuesdays is the layout. So 4 p.m. Central Time, jump on the stream. I first talk about sustainable fashion, take a small break if I remember to do a break, which I usually don't because I forget. And then talk about social justice news, and then any positive news, any eco news. And then I try to remember to watch fashion shows, but I always get copyright claimed, so I always forget about those. And then I do want to get into gaming at the end of May. I am going to be buying a gaming laptop and then connecting it to my monitor, and hopefully the setup will get better that way. I'll also be using it for normal live streams. So can't wait for that gaming PC at the end of May. And why end of May? It's because that's when I get my check. Yes, I'm working finally after a whole year. If you know me, you know I haven't had a stable job, so excited for that. And then if you guys ever want me to talk about anything, like let's say there's a fashion show or like an interesting thing, or just want my opinion on something, you can definitely fill this out, or you can put it in the chat, like whatever floats your boat. But yeah, so yeah, this Canva thing will be in my description as always, but I'm going to switch over to myself again. Before I get into the news, I always talk about myself for quite a bit, maybe for like 10 to 20 minutes, but hopefully everyone is having a wonderful Tuesday. I can't believe it's actually already May. It's May, people. I was checking the audio. I am screaming a bit into the mic, but you can just lower it. Or maybe I can lower myself. Whoop. Let me fix this. Let me see. What's the audio looking like? Let me see. Okay, so it sounds like the audio's better this way. Okay, so to get into the live stream, I do want to start off saying it's crazy how it is May. It has been May for quite a bit now. It's been like 2 weeks, and it's just been going fast. This year has been going fast. It just feels like it was January last year. Now it's 5 months later, whatever it is. January, February, March, April, May. 5 months. And we're almost halfway through the year, and I feel like it's just gone. It's just speeded through, and it's been frizzy and humid lately. I'm based out of Illinois, and I suffer during this time period. I do not like the frizzy. I don't like the humid. And it's just a very, very hot time, and I struggle. I like the fall. Like, I like the cozy. I like Octobers. I like the Septembers, the Novembers, stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of the reasons why I've been like crashing out. I've been trying to do a bit more TikToks, and then I do a bit more of spontaneous content creation, and then my frustrations of the world come out. Like recently I made a TikTok complaining about how I did volunteer work for the past 7 years unpaid. And I think one of the main reasons why that happened is because it's been unfavorable weather for me, and it's just been irking my brain a lot. So to give more context, I used to be an activist. I was in environmental spaces. A lot of people reached out actually to me after I made the TikTok saying how I was really mad that no one ever hired me after the 7 years, and clarifying like what organizations were part of the problem. But there's been a lot of groups I've been part of, but most of the bad experiences I've had in activism has only been through environmental justice spaces, who are predominantly filled up by leftists and privileged individuals who are often Caucasian or American. So there's just a lot of people like coming at me, asking like, was it our organization, or like, how could I have made it better? But honestly, like, I just am always reminded that managers are always the ones that have so much power, and everyone else can be really good people or like have good intentions. But if like the one person that's the manager doesn't want to hire you, then it's your downfall. For example, like at one of the places I was at that I was complaining about, I was there for like 7 years while I was in and out of other places, and they just refused to hire me. They refused to like answer even my phone calls or just believe in me. So I will be changing a bit of like what I do online, just to be less pessimistic. But I was just being honest like this week of like how frustrating it is to be so invested in eco-justice, because you directly understand what's at play here. Like being in a frontline city, I'm in a suburb next to like highways and power plants and stuff. I directly know like the benefits of racial justice and like environmental justice, and for people to not hire me or invest time into me or resources into me, it's such a disservice, because I know like how much my community and myself could prosper and thrive from resourcing leaders that know how to directly take action and provide solutions. So I was crashing out this week, mostly from frustration, and also like Illinois weather is really hard on me. But also when you are not from a privileged background, there's a lot of grappling you have to do of like what choices you've made and what you'll do. So one of the things that I've been struggling with is like, how do I approach content creation? How do I approach these live streams? A lot of people who live stream are coming on to just talk about games, or talking about just their life, or they're talking about random stuff with no like direction, which is not inherently like bad or like wrong. It's a weird experience that I'm like the opposite. So when I'm on this platform and I see myself being the opposite of what everyone else is doing, I kind of feel alienated and a bit alone, and like, is this supposed to be what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, no one really talks about sustainable fashion online in a live stream. No one ever live streams environmentalism. no one ever live streams social justice things. Like I feel like I'm in a field of my own. And it feels like I'm kind of like doing something that I shouldn't. Like I shouldn't be doing this. But I know like it's important work. Like just because no one else is doing it doesn't mean I shouldn't be doing it, obviously. It's just like no one has maybe had an example. Maybe no one has been able to be brave enough to do this. Maybe it's just a new niche that a lot of us are still getting familiar with. But I hope more people jump on and talk about the sustainability things of fashion, or want to spread their message of like social justice through live streams or through content creation, or want to like cover environmentalism more seriously through real life like streaming, like real-time streaming. Like I've recently been looking into Streamer University. I don't know if you guys have heard of this, but if you guys are just watching me out of interest of the topics that I talk about, thank you. But one of the things that has come out from one of the biggest live streamers is Streamer University. It's from Kai Cenat. It's made by Kai Cenat. He is a relatively young live streamer, but he's like a billionaire with all his investments and all his followings. And he recently came out with this program where everyone from all backgrounds could have a chance to showcase their personalities as students, alongside other well-established creators that would be professors. I personally saw this as it came out. Like I could have applied the day it came out, and I didn't. I've decided to opt out. Just because of that feeling of like, I don't think I would have a space in the streaming world because of my focus. And I know I may be wrong to think this way. Like I said, maybe there should be a space for me. Maybe I can fit in my own way. But a lot of people just are gamers, or they talk about their personal life, or they do IRL streams, or whatever it is. Like I feel like everyone else has a way to progress in an atypical way in the streamer world. Well, for me, it's like I don't really see anyone else like me. So to like apply to these things just feel like not, it's like it doesn't feel like for me. It doesn't feel like there is a place for me. But maybe in next year, if they have this opportunity, I'll enroll next year. I think by then I'll be a much more comfortable to take a chance on myself. So I don't know like if I'm disappointing anyone who's listening, but yeah, these are things that I have to grapple with, especially because I'm so used to being rejected all the time for these past 7 years as an activist. So entering content creation as well and being so different really affects my mindset. But hopefully the content that I do and the live streams that I do really improves, and I can hopefully create more of a space where I accept myself, and you can like learn a lot more through me and through the things that I do. So those are like some personal goals that I've been thinking about. But yeah, this has been such a fun thing to watch because Kai does like IRL streams, like live streams where he like goes through applications and like sees who he wants to accept or not. And I just like could never see myself being accepted into this, which is a bad mindset, but that's just kind of like what I'm dealing with. Like I just don't really feel like I have a space in live streaming, even though I'm actively live streaming. But hopefully that can change by the example that I'm setting, or by the work that I'll do next year, or like this year and the next year and the next year and the next year. So I won't stop live streaming. I won't stop trying. It's just I feel like maybe within a year I can feel like I've carved out a space for myself and for hopefully others that are like-minded, to inspire them to live stream. But yeah, honestly, I do love live streaming. Like it brings much more human elements to connection online. Like often enough we are watching videos that are super edited or super curated. Like you didn't really see the real person. And live streams are such a great way to like tune in and just like meet someone for who they are. You get to like hear their stutters and stuff. But yeah, for now I just don't think I have like a set direction or set confident path towards streaming, and don't really see myself taking a chance on myself because there's not a lot to back myself up with. Like, I've only been streaming for 3 months. The last time I touched base, I was talking about how I was going to improve my Wi-Fi. I thought I had AT&T, but I actually have Xfinity Wi-Fi, and I'm going to have my own Xfinity Wi-Fi soon. I'm going to go in and get that figured out on Thursday at the Xfinity store to get my own Wi-Fi. And then I just bought the micro SD card for the GoPro. And I will be getting the gaming PC this month. And from then on, I think May onwards, I will have much better streams. And then I am rebranding a bit of my YouTube. So I will be talking about ethics and philosophy a bit more. I will be doing fun videos like upcycling DIYs, like vlogs, fashion show trips that I go to on my personal channel that I'll be releasing soon. I just have to like rebrand it. I have to rebrand my personal channel that's already in existence. But honestly, like that all takes time. And like as someone that's always wanted to mentor, and not only sustainable fashion and environmentalism and social justice work, I've also always wanted a content creator like mentor. So I think within this next year, my real goal, my real marker of success within my journey is to have a mentor. That's all I've ever wanted. All I've ever wanted is support. And so hopefully I can get that throughout this upcoming year. Hopefully I can talk to someone about the things that I care about and see other people do similar things like me. I think, yeah, all of this is just like a learning curve for me. I don't have any friends that do live streaming or like content creation. And then, yeah, I started working at the thrift store. I think when you live stream, it's very difficult to balance your in real life life to live streaming. Especially when there's like real consequences of like not hiring people like me. So like, for example, the real consequence of not hiring someone that did so much volunteer work is she's left to do minimum wage jobs because she was just always busy with something else. I was always busy with something else. So I started working at a thrift store and I'm only getting 20 hours a week. And they promised me 28, which is a huge reduction, so I'm probably gonna have to find another job. I'm applying to different jobs, and they only pay $15 an hour. And someone has been working at the thrift store for about 20 to 25 years, around there, which is crazy. I don't know how someone can survive doing retail for like years and years. Like, can you imagine working at a hard labor retail job for 20 plus years? Like, I wouldn't wish that upon anyone. Like, I'm struggling to like keep my energies up during a 5-hour shift. I just got off today at like 2. It's 4:16 right now for me. But it's just to like be at the forefront of customer service and be working in a frontline city, seeing people scrap together change to pay, trying to get discounts, trying to get a deal because I can't afford life. It's incredibly draining, and it's incredibly like worrisome that we're all struggling to survive so much. So in a way, like I'm very honest about where I'm at. I'm very honest with my grapplings. I'm very honest with like my insecurities, because this is what's needed to be seen when we have all these hyper curated influencers and privilege only shown online. So like even if I do grow online, like I don't see myself wanting to be in privileged spaces. Like I see myself staying in frontline, marginalized spaces. I see myself investing more time into organizing or mutual aid or standing in solidarity with those that are struggling to survive. So yeah, those are some of the things I wanted to share. But I just can't help think, like, could you survive working at a thrift store for 20 years? Knowing that you have to be on your feet for like 8 hours a day, that's just crazy to me. Like, how can you how can you survive not only on the wages, but like on the hard labor? It's so hard to be on your feet. Like, I'm so lazy. I'm just so lazy. I'm just so lazy that to be running around, dealing with customers, answering phone calls, ringing people up, fixing clothing, taking in donations, being in this harsh lighting, because thrift stores just have the harshest lighting, and just constantly going for like all those 8 hours. You can't even sit down for 20 hours or 20 hours for 40 hours a week for 20 years. Just crazy. It's just crazy. Oh my gosh. And I only get paid $15 an hour for 28 hours a week. So that's like $1,500 a month. And I have 2 college degrees. But I've been seeing on TikTok how people are struggling to survive. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm lucky in a way. Like I should be crashing out, but I'm not. But I am actively working on my Depop to like save up more money. I did used to make videos about how much I make, like my profit breakdown, my money breakdown, my budget breakdown. I used to do those videos. Let me see if I can find an example. I did one a long time ago and I stopped doing them. But basically it's just videos of me breaking down how much I made, how much I spent, and what I spent it on. Honestly, I wish every influencer, everyone online did that, because I don't know, it would just be good to know, like, who are we looking at right now? Like, what is going on with these people would be nice. But I mean, no one really has to explain themselves, you know, like no one has to tell you how much they're making. It's also kind of a taboo topic if you don't make a lot, or it can be embarrassing, or like affect your identity of some way. Like it can make you feel less than if you're only making like 30K or whatever. But for me, I don't really care. It's just a job. Okay, so here, this video I did last July. And basically said I had X amount in my bank account, which was like 3,000 at that time, and then how much I was making and how much I was spending and what I was spending it on. I had a full list of what I spent on an Excel sheet. Probably will do those like monthly, to be honest. I do want to track everything that I'm spending and how much I'm spending and how much I'm saving, and be really honest. Like I don't really care if people know that I'm poor or not. If I get rich, people will know I'll get rich. If people know that I'm making like $5,000 on Depop, I will like that. I will respect that for myself and for my audience. Like I don't really like secrets. It's just paper. But to get into the news, I think those are all the things I wanted to talk about. Yeah. Personal news, yeah, that was everything. But hopefully that made sense. There's a lot of improvements happening. I feel like May will finally be like the marker of a lot of progress and a lot of like beginnings for this live stream, and then also for my YouTube channel that will grow a bit more into more like critical thinking, philosophy, and ethics videos. And then the fun channel will come out soon, so I'll post that soon as well. I probably will get that fixed up. I have a lot of vlogs. Like I recently went to Chicago to see an Africa fashion museum, and that was super fun. I went for, well, why did I go? I don't know. I just went. But if you haven't heard, there's an African fashion museum in Chicago. It may be ending soon, or it has ended. I went like a couple months ago. It was like 2 months ago. Let's see. But it's at the Field Museum. I'll share my screen. But yeah, this is such an amazing museum. It talked about the heritage of African fashion, and it had like haute couture pieces. So it did cost like $5, and I went on a Thursday, so the general admissions was free, and then the specific exhibition was like $5, and I went with my brother. And then I got a book on African fashion, which is buried over there under other books. But I love Chicago because of all the great fun things that you can do. So it was such a beautiful museum. It really was. Or museum, I mean collection in the museum. And there was like 20 African designers featured. It was really nice. It was really nice. But to get into the news, there's been a lot happening. Oh, don't mind this. I'm actually thinking about going to Starved Rock. I didn't know this was a place. I was working in the vintage shop this Saturday, and then someone was like, oh, I drove over from Starved Rock. I'm like, what is that? Turns out it's a place, and then there's a state park in there. I may go. Anyways, but going into the news, I actually saw how Primark is launching a repair workshop in the United States, which I found kind of worrisome because aren't they like a major fast fashion brand? I used to watch Zoella. I don't know if you guys know that YouTuber, but Zoella is a huge UK content creator, and she used to promote Primark so much, but they only used to be based in the UK. So this is Zoella. I think she was sponsored by them or something, most likely. But within her prime, when she was super, super huge, she would do these Primark hauls. And I always wanted to buy from Primark, but I was based in the United States of Americas. But now they have launched USA shops in the malls. And they have even gone on to have Love It for Longer clothing repair workshops in the United States. So they kicked off in Staten Island. And it's for those in New York, obviously. So Primark, the international retailer, has been offering supposedly quality fashion at value prices. I'm not sure if they're fast fashion, ultra cheap fast fashion. We can look up a video, but it's very interesting how the corporate PR article is saying that they offer quality fashion at value prices. It's a very interesting way of being like, it's cheap, but it's kind of quality. I don't know about that statement, but they say that they're bringing their award-winning free Love It for Longer repair workshops to the USA, and they're kicking off in 2 U.S. markets, Staten Island and Tysons, Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C. Today, consumers can sign up for repair workshops held at Primark Staten Island Mall from 11 a.m. or 1:30 Eastern Time. And then the D.C. shoppers can go to the Primark Tysons Corner Center. And they're free. They say they're going to teach simple mending and upcycling techniques. And then they'll get people that go get a complimentary. I don't know what that says. Complimentary. I cannot say that word. Complimentary sewing kits. I don't know why that word sounded so weird in my head. Complimentary sewing kit. And also get a repair booklet and then a reusable tote bag to keep them stitching at home. So basically, the director of Primark Cares, what is Primark? Primark Cares has bringing our free Love It for Longer repair workshops across the pond to the U.S. has been a long-held ambition for us. I've never heard of Primark Cares. I'm just gonna Google it or YouTube it. I have no idea what that is. Oh, they're also in Germany. Well, it's just their store that they're showing. I don't know what this Primark Cares. I think it's just the name of the store. Okay. I thought it was like a social initiative on their part, but says that the workshop should give them a sense of sustainability that shouldn't be out of reach for everyone. And they first launched these in 2022 and has since run nearly 400 free sessions in stores across the UK, Ireland, and the Netherlands, Italy, Belgium, Spain, and France. And the workshops are part of Primark Cares, the company's sustainability strategy and long-term commitment to make more sustainable fashion affordable and accessible for all. It's just, why can't I find anything on YouTube? Okay. Oh, shoots. Okay. I like how the first thing that I really see is like their collection for Primark Cares. I don't know. They don't have a website for this. Primark Cares. Nope. There's nothing on YouTube about their sustainable fashion initiatives. Oh, here's this. let's see.
Marvel Studios Thunderbolts is the #1.
2 years ago, they made this video. Sew through buttons.
If a button falls off, it's so easy to replace. And have you ever thought about adding new buttons to garments to give them a new lease of life? It really couldn't be simpler. Here's what you need. Sew-through buttons are called that because, you guessed it, you sew through them to secure them in place. Choose 2 or 4 holes and really make it your own. Got everything ready? Let's go. Place your buttons in the right position. Remember to align it to the buttonhole. Push your needle up through the back of your fabric and through one of your buttons holes. Then loop it back over, taking it down through another hole and back through the fabric. Repeat that process 6 times. For a 4-hole button, do this again through the remaining 2 holes. It doesn't need to be perfect. Your clothing just needs to be worn again. Repeat that 6 times. Knot your thread at the back to secure it. And then trim the excess. How easy was that? You totally just sewed on a button. Now you're all set up to sew. Check out our other videos on how to repair and re-love your clothes.
Interesting. Cool. There you go. Now you know how to do a button. So yeah, they've been doing these repair shops throughout the UK and Europe, most likely out of just the fact that they have a lot of stores in the UK and they're barely expanding out to the US. But it seems like they're on a steady strategy to like get into the US markets. And it's very interesting how they're like, oh, it's a major sustainability milestone for the brand and our conscious consumers. And they say, we know that educating customers on repair is a small step in our journey to becoming a more sustainable business, but through our scale, we can reach many people and hopefully spark change in how people care for and wear their clothes. Oops. And then they say that Primark care includes making clothing that has more recycled materials or sustainably sourced materials with a goal to reach 100% of clothing by 2030. And then they also release a durability framework to help people get more wear out of their clothes while highlighting the importance of durability and helping tackle textile waste. And then they also have Scope 1 and Scope 2 market-based emissions to be reduced by 21% in 2024 and compared to 2023, and were 52% lower than the 2019 baselines. I don't know what that meant, but it seems like they're trying to reduce their emissions. And then they have a sustainability and ethics progress report that you can look at. But honestly, I am not familiar with Primark. I'm not going to lie. Like, are they a fast fashion brand? If so, then all this stuff is just here to tweak us out and make us believe that they actually care. I wonder if there's like a quick video or something explaining if they're fast fashion. It's just, why Primark is thriving while retailers like Forever 21 are closing. I don't remember if we watched this one.
Wow. Look.
The Wall Street Journal made this video.
This Primark t-shirt. If you're shopping on Primark's website, you'll quickly discover that you can't. Over the past 10 years, e-commerce sales have more than doubled. But last year, European fast fashion retailer Primark made $9.5 billion in sales revenue without a single penny from online shopping.
We made a very clear choice, and our clear choice is bricks and mortar.
This comes at an uncertain time for struggling clothing retailers. Retailers like Forever 21, JCPenney, and Neiman Marcus have closed stores and filed for bankruptcy. And while a UBS report shows up to 80,000 retail stores will close in the next 5 years, Primark plans to expand to 60 stores in the same time frame.
Is driving 2 hours from Toronto to Buffalo to shop at Primark worth it? Heck yes, I used to fly 6 hours to do so.
So how is Primark expanding without online shopping? This is the economics of Primark.
Fashion retail is incredibly competitive, more so than ever. There's not many players, especially in fast fashion, that are making fat margins. Pretty much the thinking everywhere is that you have to have this online presence.
But online shopping is actually incredibly expensive for retailers.
You have to have a logistical hub from which you would dispatch the goods, and then you'd probably have a local distribution centre from which you have to do last mile delivery. Each step of that just is an extra layer of cost that just eats away at the margin, which in fashion is very, very slim anyway. But the real killer for e-commerce is that somebody who buys something on the internet is far more likely to return that product than somebody who goes into a store.
Returns are one of the biggest profit losses for online retailers. On average, processing a return for $100 worth of merchandise bought online costs a company $26.50. For years, online retailers just ate these expenses. Only now are more of them deciding to pass the cost back to the consumer.
Primark have just said right from the beginning, we don't think we can make money out of e-commerce. We're not even going to try. We're going to focus all our resources on the physical store and protect our margins.
And that wasn't an issue for the retailer until...
Now Primark is expected to close all 189 of its UK stores tonight, and it doesn't have an online offering to fall back on.
E-commerce was a lifeline for a lot of retailers during the pandemic. They couldn't open their stores, but they were still able to make some sales on the internet.
But Primark didn't budge, even as consumers urged for it to offer online shopping, and even after its revenue dropped by almost £2 billion.
And I think their confidence in this model of having no digital sales and only using stores, I think, was probably shaken by the pandemic. Who knows what would have happened if it had gone on for longer. I think the closures weren't quite long enough to really tip the scales and force them to fundamentally rethink the model.
Instead of traditional online shopping, in 2022, Primark launched a trial service called Click and Collect in select UK stores. Customers can select certain products online, then pick up their orders in store. So Primark still has some costs to maintain its website, but it's cheaper than running a true online shop.
So Primark makes a sale, but they don't have any of the logistical costs that would be involved in packing it up and then shipping it out to your home.
And there's another bonus for Primark. Since the customer has to go inside to collect their purchase, they're likely to browse around and maybe even buy more.
They make the sale online, but then they have a good chance of making some extra sales when that person visits them.
Consumer psychologists call this shopping momentum. Essentially, once you've already decided to make a purchase, it's easier to justify adding more to your cart.
It always feels just overwhelmingly busy with people who are in there looking for bargains.
And it's not just clothing. Primark lures consumers with beauty, home, and travel products similar to a department store.
What we like to say about Primark here in the US is that, you know, we're all treasure without the hunt.
So customers may go in for a new t-shirt and leave with a suitcase.
But a Primark that I can drive to and don't have to fly to is a dream, because that means there's no limit to what I can buy and bring home.
To carry this vast selection of items, Primark finds large retail spaces because it relies on selling a lot. It's one of the largest retailers in the UK by volume and one of the largest across all of Europe. Last year, Primark made about $9.5 billion in sales revenue, in part by selling a lot of things at low profit margins. And it does this by sourcing a lot of its clothing from Asia. Combined with not offering online shopping, this enables Primark to sell its merchandise at lower prices, even lower than many other fast fashion retailers.
Where they do have serious rivals on price is with the digital-only players like Shein, for example. They are often even cheaper than Primark.
But according to the National Retail Federation, 80% of shopping still happens in store, giving Primark an edge over its digital-only competitors. Even so, its in-store shopping model got off to a rocky start in the US. Primark opened its first US store in Boston back in 2015. Although it was already popular in the UK, its US expansion started slowly. Over 4 years, it opened 9 stores. After years of experimentation, Primark learned it would have to change to succeed in the US.
When we first opened, we took a similar store size that we would have had in Europe.
But when Primark opened its stores across the Northeast, it struggled to find the right store density.
What they found in the US is that retail is so much more competitive. There's a lot more retail in downtown areas in the US than there is in the UK, for example. So you just can't support a massive store. It's just not possible to get enough revenue for the size.
To support its large store sizes, it needed a lot of foot traffic. But unlike the UK stores, which were located in constantly busy areas, US stores were mostly in malls, where, during the week, foot traffic dwindled.
We learned that actually 35,000 square foot of retail selling space is actually the sweet spot for us.
They didn't face the commercial pressure that a publicly owned company might have faced to suddenly open 100 stores and get really big really quickly and then possibly risk disaster because they hadn't thought it through.
The culture of Primark has always been to take our time and to test and learn, and we've done that in every country where we've introduced the brand. This wasn't about, growing market share at all costs.
And the overall retail market is shifting. Online shopping hit a peak during COVID, but now growth is beginning to slow as people return to stores.
And I think that's never been so important as it is since we came out of COVID. I think there has been a massive rediscovery of being in malls, being together, physical shopping. And I think as a business that took the decision a long time ago to have that as our core strategy, it has continued to allow us to be successful.
Very interesting how people just always want a deal. They want a deal. Well, now we know Primark is a fast fashion brand that relies on retail spaces. Dang. I had no idea. And they're over here talking about Primark durability frameworks. It says Primark defines durability as the amount of wear or the use that a customer can get from an item of clothing over a period of time. Clothing is durable if it remains functional and wearable without requiring too much maintenance or repair. Okay. Well, I don't believe any of this. Is my mic working? I can't hear myself through. Hello. Okay. Well. It was just my janky phone. Oh my gosh, I always have tech problems. But yeah, I don't really believe any of this. What is this durability framework? 20 pages? Recycle, reuse, repair, care, manufacture materials, design, and recycle. Giving clothes a longer life, protecting life on the planet, improving people's lives. What is this? By 2030. What is this grand promise of 2030? Oh my gosh. I hate fast fashion brands always lying to us. Anyways, I am going to move on before I crash out because these things always just give me a headache. Like, what are they even talking about? So they're just gonna repair stuff. They're gonna do research. They're going to do a durability project to make things last longer. That's just a part of their sustainability stuff. Oh gosh. I don't know if this is like enough though in face of all that they're creating and all that they're pushing consumers to buy in the name of a deal. But you can find their programs here. Repair workshops. Book your spot. I feel like I'm giving them free promo.
Want to know how to sew? You're in the right place. Learn how to use a tacking stitch in your next repair. Here's what you need. Think of tacking stitches as a temporary fix. They're a helping hand while you repair, holding your fabric in place while you sew it permanently. They're also
you know what I need? What we need is systemic change. At least they have a very nice website about sustainability and like trying to help give you ideas of how to fix stuff. But I do think that they need to put limits on how much they're making. And they've obviously expanded to the USA, so they're really making a lot more things and just selling a lot more than they used to. But hopefully they can become more of a responsible business. It's just I don't see them slowing down anytime soon, sadly enough. But I do have hopes that this is just an example of what brands can do to push for more awareness of how to like mend your clothing, take care of your stuff. Because I was working in a vintage shop this Saturday and someone really wanted to buy Jenkos, which is like 2000s baggy jean sort of trend thing. And they were too long on him and he was like, oh, maybe I can hem them. He has no idea how to hem. But imagine if every website had resources like this. It could actually accumulate and provide more collective awareness of like how to fix your stuff, how to like actually care for your things. And then one of his friends was like, why don't you ask your mom to like do it? And he's like, oh, my mom doesn't know how to do it. And then his friend said, oh, my mom knows how to hem. So I found that dynamic really interesting, but the guy knew what hemming was, which is a plus, you know? So yeah, I think this is a net positive, but at the end of the day, we do need like systemic change, and we do need a lot more laws and policies to make sure that by 2030 they are setting more sustainability metrics, are cutting emissions, are, you know, doing what they're saying that they're doing, like with the durability report and their research and stuff. So not inherently bad. It's just like we need this on a mass scale. I keep going on to the Starved Rock thing. I want to go to Starved Rock State Park, guys. Is that so bad? Okay, so to move on, I actually saw that Target is doing digital IDs. So basically they're going to have like QR codes on the Universal Threads apparel. And basically it's going to connect resale and product details for consumers. And it's also going... excuse me. It's also going to help people further track where products are going after the initial consumer doesn't want it. So like for sorters and recycling, they'll know the origins and more of the story, which I think is very exciting. So this is very close to home to me. Evanston, Illinois is like super close by to where I went to school. And this is a photo that says it has a universal thread blouse that doesn't have a digital tag. So there's like no QR code here. But the key takeaways by Trillis says that it's one step, apparently, towards a retailer's goal to design all owned brands for a circular future. So Target's car seat trade-in program successfully recycled millions of units, and underperforming denim take-back effort underscored the necessity to align circular initiatives. So car seat trade-in and denim take-back programs have been something Target has tried. So now they're trying to do more by their digital product passports to enhance product resale, consumer education, and post-use logistics. So apparently by 2040 is in 15 years. So in 15 years, Target wants to reach net zero climate emissions and design 50 branded product collections for a circular future. So more immediately, the monopolist-based retailer intends to craft its universal thread clothing for circularity this year. So they're doing this by embedding a digital product passport into millions of units of universal thread apparel at the end of 2024. So that should have already been happening if it's the end of 2024. Do they mean the end of 2025? I don't know if that's a typo. So I wonder if they've already been doing this or they're going to do this by the end of 2025. So basically they say that the digital product passport involves that QR code and it's going to be printed on a tag near the garment's brand label. So then in the future you can scan it. You can scan the code with a smartphone to launch the Shop the Look suggestions for related products. Okay, that was not what I was expecting. I was not expecting them to say, yeah, you can scan this thing to shop for more stuff that looks like this. Because originally when I was looking into digital product passports, it's basically to track its journey in the supply chain and to like, I guess, pinpoint their shipping, I guess like the shipping of it, if that makes sense. You know how when you order something, you can be like, oh, okay, at 10 a.m. it's at this center. At 12 a.m. it's at that place. Like I was assuming it was going to be like that. It was just going to be like a tracking journey of where they are at for the QR code. So that's kind of disappointing that it's just going to be a QR code for you to shop for related products. Oh my gosh. And it also apparently has a one-click resale So it runs by the social e-commerce service Poshmark. So users can scan the tag, choose a sell my item option, and the product information flows into the listing. It's just so underwhelming. I do wonder though why Target partnered with Poshmark versus Depop or any other resale. So that's a very interesting thing. Poshmark is partnering with a major fast fashion brand, Target, where you can scan the QR code so that resellers can resell it easier because information will be inputted. Interesting. They say that there's already 35 million units that are in distribution that automatically have integrated resale built into the product. So honestly, this is not a tool that I hoped it would be. I thought the tool of the digital passport or the digital QR code on the tag would be for us to further track the journey. But no, this is just to further sell the product. Oh my gosh, I was actually optimistic, but the senior director of owned brand circularity and innovation, Jason Brin, said that this is just a way to extend the care tags on clothes. So when scanned, this QR code tag will basically tell you the product's materials, apparently where it originated, how it was built, and instructions for washing, drying, and eventually disposing of it. So it's like a digital version of what's already on the normal tag. It's just with a bit more information. And the sustainability goals for this passport is to help consumers trace their preferred materials and corporate practices. I do wonder how that's going to be made possible because they are not going into detail about like how they're going to give us information about the origins or like what the corporate practices will be or like what they'll disclose. So this is like very, very, very alarming that just one PR sentence was given that it's supposedly going to help you trace the materials and the corporate practices. Like, what does that even mean? I just, until I see it, then I'll be optimistic, because if it's just a way for us to like shop lookalikes of the garment and then to like help you resell it on Poshmark, I'm not very optimistic about it's going to help you actually trace it back to the source of where it was made. But yeah, the circularity goal, I cannot say that. The circularity goal, so blah, blah, blah. Other goals that Target has is to guide the owner to keep a shirt in wearable shape and then do responsible resale, repair, or recycling options. Honestly, like, it's kind of worrisome too that a lot of brands are going towards resale as an option for sustainable fashion. Like, resale is only needed to like keep the item in circulation. Like, we don't want it to end up in the landfill, obviously, but like it does put a lot of pressure on the consumer to resell if they're like, yeah, we're doing this so you can resell it. Like, I don't know. I wish Target had a broader, more encompassing sort of initiative where they can ensure that no item is thrown away, no matter if it's resold or not by individual like consumers. Also, they explain that they want to help logistics companies and recyclers to understand the nature of the product and track it through post-consumer journeys. So this is what I'm curious about. This is what I want. Like, how can we track its journey? Not only from the end of its life, but like from the way beginning, like where it started, where did each fabric come from, where was it stitched, where was it assembled, where was it shipped, who wore it, where did they wear it, and then when was it given away. I think that would be ideal so that we can track its entire journey from literal start to the end and then its continuous lives. But that's a vision I want one day have for all the clothing. And founder of Liz Alisi Consulting in New York says that, I think of digital passports as the past, present, and future of everything we purchase. We're just scratching the surface of their potential. Which I agree. I agree that this is just barely creating a more collective view of like how many lives clothing has had, where they're coming from, what their journey is, what they're going to continue to go through, like with our constant scanning and monitoring of clothing, maybe we can tell like exactly how many lives they've had, like how many times it was worn even, or like how many owners it's had, because sometimes we're like, yeah, this has already had a life, but like how do we really know that? Like this sweater I'm wearing, I bought it at the vintage shop. I don't know how many people have worn it. I don't know who the owners have been. I don't know if this is its third life, fourth life, fifth life. How do we actually establish how many lives a article has had? Is it because it equates to how many owners it's had or how many years it's been in circulation? So even like the fact of being saying like this is giving my, like, how do I say this? Just the fact of saying, oh, I bought this used equates to the assumption of like, oh, I'm giving it a second or third or fourth life. Like, how do we also really accurately make that statement? So like these digital passports can actually like give a fact checking sort of background to our statement of being like, yes, this is its quote unquote fourth life, because there's more standardizations of like clothing and its process of being worn and being owned and how it's tracked. So now it's not just like an abstract thing of like, oh, I'm giving clothing another life. Like now it's a legit scientific thing of being tracked and measured, which we really need, because I feel like a lot of times fashion relies on emotions or relies on assumptions, especially when it's vintage. Like we have no idea what its story is. We don't. And Target here explains that they don't have any stores in Europe, but they are trying to further improve their practices. Other companies are trying to adopt the digital passports as well. The European Commission of Eco-Design for Sustainable Products regulation requires that apparel, electronics, and other products include digital passports by 2030. So maybe within 5 years, we'll see this become a more normalized thing. And I really do hope that there's a cohesive structure, a cohesive system that all companies are using, so that we can all like bring together our little pieces of data and like work together to accumulate this mass overview of what's happening in the fashion industry. That's my goal. I don't really know what that looks like or how that will look like. I do think I'm going to do more research on this, but H&M has also piloted digital passports, it says here in the article. Burberry as well. Eileen Fisher has experimented with digital passports, and Target is basically trying to eliminate waste, keep products and materials in use longer, and decrease dependency of natural resources. And they want to communicate circularity a bit more, have consumers understand more of the recycling process. Let me see what else. I wonder if there's any videos we can watch on this, because this is definitely a very interesting topic that I have not had a lot of time or awareness to look into, or how it really works on the broad scope. But it is definitely something I can feel we should be looking out for in the midst of conversations about circular fashion. Like there was a law in New York that passed where clothing has to be donated, and New York sorters and recyclers will need to like go through everything. So this could really help give that a better progress. Give those a better progress. Give donation sorters and recyclers a better idea where they came from. That's what I meant to say. I'm not 100% perfect in how I explain things, and that's fine. Fashion digital passports. Hopefully this helps though. Hopefully recyclers are like, yes, I know where this came from. I know what this material is. I know what the brand is now. Fashion digital passports. I can't see anything. Product passports. Blah 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 blah. I think this one. Let's see this one.
Brands are adopting technologies that store and share product information to boost authentication, transparency, and sustainability. However,
wait, this was 3 years ago and I've never heard about it. Dang, where have I been?
Businesses must coalesce around common standards and engage with pilot projects at scale.
Wait, that was the jankiest video ever. I think it didn't explain anything. What a waste of time. Yada 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 yada. Let's see if this girl can explain it.
The best way to...
And let me know what the digital passport is.
Digital product passport is a digital document that contains detailed information about a product's life cycle, including where and how it was made, what materials were used, its environmental impact, and how it can be recycled or disposed of. To understand the digital product passport requirements, we need to go back to 2022, which is when the European Commission announced its plan to implement the Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation, or ESPR for short. Basically, it's an EU regulation aimed at making products that are sold in the EU more sustainable, reducing their environmental impact and improving their overall life cycle efficiency. The focus of this regulation is on broadening the existing eco-design requirements beyond energy-related products to cover the vast majority of product categories, with particular emphasis on those that have a significant environmental footprint. So, how does the digital product passport fit into all of this? Well, the digital product passport is a core component of the ESPR. By requiring products sold in the EU to have a digital product passport, it enables the European Commission to increase product transparency by making it easier for consumers, companies, and regulators to access data about products. It promotes a circular economy by providing detailed information on how products can be repaired, reused, and recycled, therefore reducing waste and extending the product life cycle. And it facilitates compliance and monitoring by providing a strong...
I feel like I'm watching a corporate greenwashing video right now. I need this explained in like normal people's terms. What does it mean to facilitate compliance and monitoring? What does this mean? Like on a practical level, like what is this, you know?
Structured way for businesses to comply with requirements, and by making it easier for regulators to perform checks and enforce the regulations more effectively. So how will this work? Well, keep in mind that the European Commission is still defining the framework and processes, but what we do know for now is that products that fall into certain categories, which I'll go into next, will be required to have a data repository that's accessible electronically. This can be through a QR code, an NFC chip, an RFID tag, or something similar. As of today, we don't know exactly all of the data that's going to be required, but we do know for sure that you'll have to provide a product identifier, an economic operator identifier, a facility identifier, and a registration identifier, which, don't worry, won't be made public. We also know that based on key elements such as performance, sustainability, and circularity, you'll need to provide information about the supply chain, the materials used, the product life cycle, and so on. So you'll need to collect that data from your supply chain partners. Once you have all of your data ready for the DPP, you'll need to make that information easily available electronically through one of the methods that I mentioned earlier. That way, your supply chain partners, regulators, and customers will be able to access it. The European Commission has also established that a backup of this data needs to be available through a certified third-party service provider in case something happens to your company. Meaning, if your company is closed or if something else happens, then the DPP will still be available throughout the entirety of your product's life cycle. This system is going to allow stakeholders, including manufacturers, regulators, and consumers, to effortlessly access critical product information, ensuring compliance, enhancing recycling processes, and making more informed purchasing decisions. Now, according to William Neal, who's an advisor on circular economy for the European Commission.
Now, not all data will be accessible. Much of it will only be available to those who have a legitimate interest to access it. So whilst the DPP itself must be highly accessible and free of charge, the kind of data that you can access through it might be more limited.
Which brings us to the next important question. Who does the digital product passport impact? The short answer, it pretty much impacts everyone. But if we're being more specific, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the DPP affects all products placed on the EU market, meaning made available for purchase whether to another distributor or to a consumer. So manufacturers, importers, distributors, and sellers will all have to comply. And it also affects consumers because they'll now have more information available to them in order to make more sustainable purchasing choices. In terms of which types of products this will affect, according to Article 1.2 of the legislation, the regulation applies to any physical goods, more on this in a second, including components and intermediate products. The only exceptions are the ones that are stated in this table here. While specific DPP requirements for each industry haven't been finalized, we do know that the Commission has identified the following product types as high priority: iron, steel, aluminum, textiles, furniture including mattresses, tires, detergents, paints, lubricants, chemicals, ICT products, and electronics. So if you sell products in any of these categories, make sure you stay in the loop. Now that we know what the DPP is and who it'll affect, it's time to answer the million-dollar question. When will the legislation come into effect? Plot twist, it already has. The legislation entered into force on July 18th of 2024, and if this comes to you as a shock, remember that it was first proposed back in 2022. But don't worry, because nothing will officially be enforced before July 19th of 2025. While the full timeline is unclear, the European Commission has established a few important dates to keep in mind. The European Commission will have a definition of standards by no later than December of 2025. The destruction of unsold consumer products will be prohibited as of July 19th of 2025. Digital battery passports will be mandatory for specific types of batteries by 2026. And digital product passports will be fully implemented for every product type mentioned in the coming acts by 2030. While these dates may seem far off, many companies have already begun integrating DPPs into their products, from multinational companies like Tesco to family-owned businesses like Holzweiler. So if you want to see how you can begin preparing for the DPP, check out the link that I'm leaving in the description. Also, I do want to emphasize that though the DPP will only be fully implemented in 2030, requirements for specific product types will start being enforced before then, as we can see in the case of batteries, which is why it's super important to stay up to date. And since I'll be posting about all of the new updates and acts as they come.
Very informative.
If you have or work with a brand.
All right, interesting, very interesting. Centralize, analyze, and optimize product data. Interesting. Well, that's good to know. I think there's going to be a lot more conversations about this. I think Target is really catching my eye. And I think I'll be looking out for this, especially if they're going to be in the stores. And this photo was taken like really close to where I live. So very interesting indeed. I will probably move on for the sake of time, but I'm curious how you guys feel about digital IDs. I know there can be a lot of data security, privacy, contention around this. Like I don't know if it really, yeah, no, it doesn't bother me that there's going to be a QR code. I don't really think they're going to be able to track me in the clothing. I think it's more so like we scan it when we want and use the resource when you want. But I know a lot of people are like very like contentious about like data breach and like data sourcing and like having more tech in our clothing. So maybe the older generation will be a bit hesitant when they see that QR code, especially when it's associated with like tech and data and the online world. But that's definitely something I'll keep on my radar. But to move on for the sake of time, I do want to move on to THREDUP'S curated vintage collection, where they're going to be releasing over 20,000 items in partnership with another brand called Beyond Retro. And basically it's a collection that is inspired and sourced by the 70s through the 80s. Basically they have like the new generation with the old generation coming together. I think they're trying to reach as many people as possible to get them on their site. So THREDUP is doing this like initiative, and it's a very beautiful brand. Like it's a very beautiful aesthetic. When you look at this, you're like, oh my gosh, like there's nothing wrong with this because it's so aesthetic. It's so appealing to look at. Like, she's so beautiful. Like, this can't be wrong, right? Like, it's THREDUP. We resell and we buy there. We support vintage. But I do want to say, like, when is sustainable fashion initiatives sustainable? Because for me, I'm just kind of hyper aware of like the 20,000 items that will be dropped or has been dropped from this vintage pop-up collection. It's a lot of clothing. Can you imagine releasing a 20,000 piece collection as a normal fashion designer? That's just so many pieces. But for THREDUP, because they're so big, it may sound just a little bit, or just a small drop in comparison to everything that they're doing. But basically, the press release says that they're one of the largest online resale platforms for apparel, shoes, and accessories. And today, which was May 8th, so like 5 days ago, they announced the launch of its first ever digital vintage pop-up, and in a exclusive partnership with the London-based vintage retailer Beyond Retro, which is a renowned, globally and favored brand by celebrities for its eclectic style and deep roots in British fashion. So this collection will feature more than 20,000 hand-picked vintage and vintage-inspired apparel items. So not only is it vintage items, but like fast fashion pieces that are vintage inspired. Okay? So the curation will provide THREDUP customers with an expansive selection of timeless styles. Very interesting they use that word, timeless styles, ready to embark on their next chapter. So it aligns with their mission to cultivate a conscious appreciation for quality, keeping well-made items out of the landfill, says Cynthia, the head of merchandising. So apparently the vintage pop-up will be a natural extension of that, offering customers direct access to expertly sourced, coveted vintage items to foster a tangible connection to fashion history and personal style. And we're making vintage more accessible, reinforcing our commitment to sustainable fashion and self-expression. A 20,000 piece pop-up collection, mind you, just a reminder. So it will showcase vintage treasures, dresses, leather jackets, tops, denim. Okay. So the dresses will have high quality fabrics. The denim will have naturally faded and perfectly broken into pieces. The leather will have supple texture that only age can give. Patterns will have unique artsy vibes with hand finished detail. And here is the collection. I'm not promoting it. I don't like promoting things. I don't like the idea that by talking about it or by analyzing things, I'm inherently promoting it. This is not me trying to sell you more stuff or inspire you to buy from this. It's just me analyzing what the heck is going on. Because, like, honestly, in my head, I'm like, why do we need 20,000 more pieces to be resold on the site when the most sustainable option is the things that are in our closet? And they're kind of pricey because they range from $10 minimum to about $200. But the average price of things is $30, which is a kind of moderate price, to be honest. But it does kind of promote overconsumption in a way if it's so cheap and affordable. I did look at the site, and as soon as you go to THREDUP, that's the first thing that pops up. So they're really heavily marketing this as something to like buy into, like quite literally. And you can't ignore it. Like, if you're on the site, you can't ignore their pop-up collection. And it just makes me wary that they're just trying to make you buy more and more and more, which goes against sustainable fashion, because sustainable fashion should be just using what we have and repairing what we have. But yeah, it's very interesting that they're using a multi-generational approach. Like, the woman is braiding the young girl's hair. There's like the mom with the daughter. There's some cool elements there. There's a grandma, the mother, the daughter sort of thing. So I think they're playing a lot with like generational knowledge and like old styles, but making them modern, and that it's like for everyone. But I always say, if you're trying to do everything, then you don't stand for anything. So I'm always a very critical person, And I just kind of wonder if they have any predictions of how well this collection will be or turn out to be. Like, how much money do they predict to make from this partnership? Why did they think a collection is needed when they're already selling so much stuff? I know that resellers can resell here, but is ThredUp trying to get more direct money from the consumer versus just the fees that they get from the resellers' efforts? So those are the questions I ask, just out of a need to understand more of the profit transparency behind these collections, because at the end of the day, they're going to be making money. And a lot of times we release collections in the fashion industry to make money. So I don't exempt ThredUp from this questioning, even if they are one of the biggest sustainable like fashion resale, platforms. But they even go as far to define vintage, which is a very interesting thing. So here they're like clothing that's at least 20 years old. That's sourced apparently for enduring design, quality, craftsmanship, and cultural relevance, which I think is interesting because there can be vintage fast fashion, and that could be a contradiction to this definition, because if it's vintage fast fashion, maybe it doesn't have enduring design, it doesn't have quality craftsmanship, it doesn't have cultural references, but yet they define vintage this way. So I wonder how they would see or kind of like analyze or use vintage fast fashion. But I do think they're trying to like emphasize we don't sell fast fashion, even though they are selling vintage inspired fast fashion. So that's kind of another interesting thing to note. And they are focusing on denim, very, very denim looks over here. Denim on denim on denim on denim. Two-piece infinite style. They have used timeless style in their wording. Now they're using infinite style. I think maybe that's kind of the multi-generational time thing, like timeless, because they're talking about all the generations, all the times, which is interesting. Very interesting how they showcase their timelessness by multi-generational models. But isn't like multi-generation models like based on time? Like the grandmother has lived a long time, and that's rooted in years, no? So how's it timeless imagery? I don't know if I'm getting too meta here. Maybe I'm overthinking that, so I'm just gonna move on. I don't know, bro. Timeless. Okay, this is something I've been thinking a lot of. Like, what makes a timeless look? Because I think what ThredUp is doing in their imagery and their narrative is that timelessness is intergenerational, inter different eras. I don't know what a word is. Like covering many eras, but having a sense of like it's still present in real life. Hence, it's timeless. But most of these styles are based from certain eras, like the 80s and 90s and 2000s. Yeah, I don't know what timelessness even means. I'm getting very in the roots of like what the definitions are, but I think just analyzing this shows how people and marketing is like taking sustainable fashion and the idea of timelessness into something concrete, into a collection. Because it says here, where yesterday's styles become today's statements. But going back to the article, I do want more explanation of like what is happening. So the news comes during the same week that ThredUp announced it would be removing resale fees for brands and retailers from its resale as a service offering, as well as introducing additional marketing and after-market support and expanded menswear resale. So the Dive Insight says that the U.S. online resale market is expected to nearly double by 2029. Oh gosh, reaching $40 billion. They're going to make $40 billion in 2029 in just the U.S. market. Jesus. Who's ThredUp? Who owns ThredUp? I need to know who's doing this. Maybe I can have a sugar daddy of some sort if I get behind them. No, I'm kidding. I shouldn't have said that. Mr. Reinhardt, is he single? Director Ian Patricia. Oh man, it's a female. Okay, I have no chance. Co-founder James. Director Mandy. Timothy, director. They all are so old. I don't have a chance. He looks young. He looks like he's 40. Okay, so these are the people in charge of ThredUp. There's one African American woman. Where's the Mexicans? Okay. I volunteer as tribute. No, I don't want to work in corporate governance. Okay, so that's the people behind ThredUp. I genuinely did not know they were so profitable, but consumers may be drawn to resale price points as tariffs threats loom. It's noted that 62% of consumers said they are concerned that the new government policies around tariffs and trade would increase apparel prices. So vintage has been seeing a boom, and now Gap and H&M are digging into their archetypes to offer consumers older fashion pieces. Wait, why? Wait, can you imagine H&M being like, let's cook up our old fast fashion goods that are falling apart in the landfills, but we will resell them again because apparently people like vintage. Honestly, I like this boom in vintage again because I think it will force fast fashion brands to be like, shoots, is our styles really good enough to be reintroduced again? If they're making like trendy or micro trends, like trendy or micro trendy items, is it still relevant for them to reintroduce those pieces because they're no longer in trend? So do they ever really have archival fashion? Are they making things worthy to be called vintage fashion? Can trends be vintage fashion? Maybe so. We see that a lot in thrift stores. We see a lot of old fast fashion. So I don't think that H&M and Gap are going to grapple as much of this idea of like, oh, what is true vintage fashion? I think they're just going to like bring out old pieces and be like, yeah, this is vintage. But I don't really think fast fashion is truly like vintage fashion because of the quality. It's so cheap and it's like not that unique, or there's nothing really there to look at, to be honest. Like polyester based, cheaply made items just do not, for me, equate as vintage. But that's just my perspective. You can define vintage as much as you want it to mean for you. Like I can't control how people define vintage, but very interesting how H&M is now like bringing out old items and being like, yeah, this is our vintage pre-owned collection, you know. But let's see what else the article says before we move on. So clothing will be sourced from the 70s through the early aughts. The early aughts? I thought that it was a typo. I thought they were trying to say early 80s. What is early aughts? Am I old? Why do we call the 2000s the aughts? What? I'm so young. What is this? The early aughts? The early 2000s. I did not know this. Oh. Well, now I know. Okay. And then ThredUp will also be adding its AI-powered tools, image search, and its style chat to help customers discover pieces in the collection. This was one of my predictions in my Ethical Fashion 2025 video. I predicted that in 2025 we're going to have more AI-powered chats, and it's happening, and I'm not happy about it. But I was right. But I'm upset about it. Oh my god. We're going to be talking to robots as human connection. Oh my gosh. Try not to crash out here. Okay, so forecast revenue range from 281 million to 291 million for 2025. So within a year, they're going to almost make $300 million in the US market. But their entire... Oh, wait. No. Okay. I read that wrong. So the entire retail market is 40 billion. But they're making 300 million. Dang. I did not read that right, but it's whatever. Okay, so they're going to make 300 million this year. Around there in the US. So they got a chunk out of the billions. Honestly, Honestly though, like, why was I not surprised that they could potentially be worth billions? Because every time we talk about sustainable fashion corporations, we'd be talking about billions here. We're talking millions and millions and millions. So like, even if they're part of the solution, I know these people would be making money. Honestly, that's why I feel like I'm going to be working at thrift shops and like retail or vintage shops for the rest of my life, because I'd rather work part-time at a janky thrift store than ever be sponsored by any of these brands that I talk about. If ThreadUp ever reached out to me and tried to sponsor my live streams or my videos, let's say in this hypothetical future, I would reject them because I don't trust a brand or a corporation that makes millions. And they're making 20,000 item pop-up collections. Like, broskies, we don't need this. We don't need this. What we need is for us to use what we have in our closet and to buy locally from local thrift stores, help our local business owners, and just repair and mend. That's all we need. And honestly, working at a local thrift store that helps my local homeless community and frontline community is more in alignment with my values and with the things that I believe in than ever working with these sort of corporations like ThreadUp. So I feel like in a way I'm more aligned with my values working at a thrift store than working in partnership with a corporation that stands supposedly for sustainable fashion. But in a way, like in the outside looking in, like I would be seen as very successful, very marketable if I ever teamed up with ThreadUp, which is kind of interesting. But I don't define my success on partnerships with brands or like how much money I have. My marker of success right now is if I was able to get a mentor in sustainable fashion that has a similar background in like anti-capitalism or in environmental justice or in social justice or in ethics or morality, I would be content. I would feel like I've done something right because someone wants to help me advance my journey in ethical fashion and helping me educate others on ethical fashion and be more confident. Like, that's how I define my success, because if I'm not confident in myself, how am I ever going to pursue this long term to help others be more, informed and educated on their own journey? Like, I need to believe in myself so that more people can believe in themselves to care about these things and to do something about these things instead of just being passive and just rooted in pessimism that nothing is ever going to change. So it's very interesting how I refuse to believe that these resale companies can be a solution for me or like be endorsed by me or I don't want to be endorsed by them. I don't know how else to explain that. And a lot of people would die for these chances. I don't really believe in that. But if you do buy from ThreadUp, that's perfectly fine. Like, it's resale. It's something that allows you to find vintage pieces or at least vintage inspired pieces. So if you need it, buy it. Like, obviously buy what you need. But I mean, if this corporation itself is like selling like this huge collection, like, we gotta kind of consider like the why. Like, how much is it predicted to be made by doing this, I mean, we can kind of predict, like, what's 20,000 times the $30 average? That's like $500,000 or something like that. Yeah, but we can buy from local thrift stores. I mean, that's like the thing I'm stubborn on. We can just buy what we need at the local thrift shop. That's my solution. But if accessibility is like hard, you can buy from ThreadUp. But to move on, let's talk about Levi's. So Levi's is suing Premier Brands. Why is my voice hiking up so much? Suing! Levi's is suing. I need more water. But Levi's is suing Premier Brands over large scale counterfeit trafficking operation. Blah 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 blah. Okay, let me start over. So Levi's is suing and it's over large-scale counterfeit trafficking operations. So Levi's is accusing the New York-based Premier Brands Group of orchestrating a large-scale counterfeit trafficking operation. Jesus. In turn, infringing on more than dozens of its trademarks. So according to the denim brand PBG, its CEO Elle and a variety of DOE defendants, unknown individuals who allegedly took part in the counterfeiting scheme, knowingly bought and sold fake products. Jesus. So the defendants purchased, marketed, and resold and trafficked over 90,000 counterfeit Levi branded products sourced from known counterfeit producers with no reasonable basis to believe that such products might be genuine, Levi said. PBG, which is based in New York, absorbs excess inventory from global brands to resell to consumers. Dang. So Levi said that the products allegedly sold by PBG were of exceeding low quality. Dang. And stated that some of the products bore obvious errors that should have indicated their status as counterfeits. So certain of the counterfeit products themselves contain a basic error in the spelling of San Francisco, making it Sans or without Francisco at the end, such that no reasonable person, let alone defendants who claim to have decades of industry experience, would have believed that the products were genuine, Levi wrote in the complaint. So those type of errors, Levi claimed, negatively impacted its goodwill and reputation with consumers who have come to expect a certain standard of quality from the legacy brand. So the products allegedly had such errors, Levi said, shows that PBG willfully perpetuated a counterfeit scheme. Dang. Is Levi's like that cool that a resale company in New York is willing to sell them? But the errors apparently here are alleged counterfeits aren't the only reason that Levi believes PBG carried out its actions willfully and with knowledge. So the defendants also trafficked in forged letters purported to come from Elle & Co. representatives, and which also counterfeited Elle & Co. trademarks and purported to authenticate genuine and authorize the further resale of these counterfeit products. So basically they really wanted to sell Levi's. Are they that cool? Are Levi's that cool? I'm so confused. Why would they want to sell these so bad? As a result of these actions, Levi apparently has lost out on millions of dollars in sales of its own products. It has also accused PBJ of federal trademark counterfeiting, federal trademark infringement, federal trademark dilution, and other offenses. As such, Levi's has asked a jury for preliminary and permanent injunction that would prohibit PBG, Chartosh, and the DOE defendants from further acts of counterfeiting, infringement, dilution, and or unfair competition with suspects of Elle & Co. and the Elle & Co. trademarks. It also has requested a judge to require PBG to deliver for destruction any and all products in its possessions that counterfeit or otherwise infringe or dilute the Elle & Co. trademarks. It made it clear that it will seek actual damage for any profits that PBG made off of its allegedly illegal conduct at Levi's expense. Dang, they're going through their throat. They're going to the throat. They want the money. Levi said, "How dare you sell our stuff without our permission? You cost us money. Now you suffer." So federal court records show that premier brand groups have not yet responded to the denim brand's complaint. PBG did not immediately return Sourcing Journal's request for comment on the lawsuit. Dang right they didn't want to talk. They're in court right now. Da-da-da-da-da. Anything and everything will be taken to court. Da-da. Actually, we need a fashion news site. You know how frustrating it is to want to just watch a YouTube video on fashion news and you can't see nothing because nothing is made? I just need a fashion news site, a trusted fashion news site. Dang, I just wish one day there's a fashion news site. Maybe I'll make it. In 10 years, I will publish the first TV fashion outlet. Wait, I don't see anything on YouTube. I need the T on YouTube. We need like TMZ, but for fashion. TMZ for fashion. I just want to listen. I don't want to talk. I'm an introvert. Okay, let's see. Levi Strauss & Co. and the Premier Brands Group. Give me the T. Blah, 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 blah. Nope. Dang. Well, sad to say, there's nothing on YouTube. I'm left to do all the work. So, I mean, I don't know why PBJ, Premier Brands, made fake copies. Maybe it's just like really easy to make money from a renowned brand. And they just like didn't want to buy directly from Levi's or from like real sources of vintage items. They just wanted to be like, oh, let's make them and just resell them really expensive and say that they're vintage Levi's, which is a very interesting route to take because you can distress anything. So like even consumers don't even know what's vintage anymore, what's truly distressed over time versus like intentionally with machinery or tools or whatever. And like we're not really paying attention if it has an S to the San Francisco. So I think Premier is just profiting off of our desire to have this like little thing on the jeans. And we're like, yeah, it's Levi's, but it's actually not. And they knew it, but the consumers didn't. And Levi's found out about it and they're like, nope, that's our brand. Get off of our brand. But it's very interesting that consumers were still willing to buy the Levi's even if they were of less quality. And I do think it has a lot to say of like the trust and commitment that we have towards certain brands, that even if it is a bit cheaper or it's falling apart, we're like, meh, it's Levi's. Maybe I got a faulty one. Maybe they just fall apart quicker than they used to. Anyways, but that's very interesting to think about. But moving on, I do want to talk about the Wikipedia collection that's coming up. So Wikipedia is making a fashion collection in partnership with Armed Angels, and basically they explain that it is something where it's about knowledge. So let's set knowledge free, apparently, is their message. So in an era where information is spread and consumed at an unprecedented rate without much prior fact-checking going on, unbiased knowledge seems to be harder to find more than a Lime bike during the morning rush hour. The heck am I reading? So that's why supporting free, accessible, and reliable information on Wikipedia is more important than ever. I've never understood Wikipedia. It just does seem like people make these little website pages out of nowhere. You just kind of believe it. I don't even know how Wikipedia functions. But basically they're making a capsule collaboration and they're thinking about responsible thinking in this collection. So the designs will have graphic tees with the words freedom and equality on them. Oh God. Wait a minute. Okay, so the collection is going to have shirts that are going to have freedom and equality stamped on it as a way to have us think more responsibly. Yes, sir. I don't know if that's enough for us to think more responsibly if we just are reading one word on there, but they say that the tees are sustainably sourced materials. They come from sustainably sourced materials. And the collaboration doesn't just encourage a thought process, but an actionable embrace of research practices. Huh? So the shirt with the word freedom on it is supposed to encourage a thought process. Okay. Isn't it like normal that when we read a word, it encourages a thought process already? So why do we have to put it on a shirt? I feel like it's intellectualized consumerism at this point, cloaked under sustainable fashion schemes, but they want to embrace research practices. I don't even know what that means. So okay, let me be serious. Director of the brand Wikimedia said that it's a joint effort of creativity and sustainability. So their vision is to have a world where every single human has access to the sum of all knowledge. That is the spirit of the collection. Through the small phrases and small snippets of Wikipedia content, Armed Angels has made the beloved website into something easy and fun to wear. Huh? What is going on? What am I reading? So the collection is supposed to, okay, let's go back. Let's rewind. So the collection has words like freedom and equality on it. And it's going to encourage, what was it? It was going to encourage thinking responsibly. But then it goes ahead and says it's supposed to be something easy and fun to wear. Huh? I feel like they're giving us mixed messages on what's happening. So you want to think responsibly, but in a fun and easy way, and wear it, and then encourage thought processes. Interesting. Okay. So, what is this? Okay, so to think responsibly means asking questions. Where does this come from? Who made it? And at what cost? In our world of fast fashion and fast content, slowing down to think critically is radical. This collection is an invitation to do exactly that. And one of their hats says, yes, I know. So their hat that says, yes, I know, is going to be an invitation to think critically and responsibly and to take action. Yes, I know. I can feel it working, guys. You guys feel it working? Yes, I know. I will definitely be thinking critically when I'm looking at her butt, trying to read what that says. Yes, I am thinking responsibly right now. Why they put those words right there? Bro, if someone is looking at my butt while trying to read that, I will feel so self-conscious. My thinking responsibly brain will be like, what are they looking at? Why are they staring at my butt? And then I'm going to realize they're trying to read. They're trying to be a critical thinker, just like me, by wearing this shirt, by staring at my butt. It's just the placement just is so weird. Why did they put that there? We don't need more problems right now for females especially. Oh my gosh. So oh gosh. Okay. Let's continue on. So it says some pieces feature the words freedom and equality. Why was it important for you to highlight these themes? Well, they say knowledge protects values. Without access to facts, we can't uphold freedom, equality, or peace. These words aren't just slogans, they're reminders of what we stand to lose if we let misinformation win and the right to information is restricted. So to think responsibly means asking questions. Let's ask the questions then. Why are y'all making this stuff with words on the bottom of a woman's butt? Huh? Okay. So, in sum, if you can sum up this collaboration in 3 words, what would they be? Knowledge empowers people. Knowledge empowers people. Right there. If you stare at her butt, it's right there. Knowledge empowers people. Okay. I think I got the point. Can you guys tell I'm not a fan? Why are we making all of these collections? Why are we making so many collections? It's just I'm so confused. Blah. Okay. Late stage capitalism never fails to disappoint. So we're going to move on. So there was recently an event where it's called the BAFTAs. And basically someone went into the event with an upcycled dress. Her name is Stacy. And she was nominated for the Best Entertainment Performance and Best Factual Entertainment for her hit show, Sort Your Life Out. So this is her dress. And she says, it made me so sad that this is my favorite dress and I've only ever worn it once, she said, sharing the behind the scenes video of her seamstress working her magic to create a dreamy modern look. The result, a sheer play suit that retained the original bodice, paired with delicate shorts and a flowering sheer overskirt complete with thigh-high slit. Cute! So cute! Okay. So the choice is to recycle such a meaningful garment comes as no surprise to fans of her home organization hacks, and eco-conscious ethos. Okay, so she does like home hacks and eco-conscious ethos stuff. Wearing it once felt like a travesty to me, she said. I wanted to get her out of the box and take her out to another special day. So she was styled by her friend and the transformation was breathtaking. So this is the dress, transformed the wedding dress into something so special and beautiful. Aww. You can definitely tell she's very happy in the dress. Like, it may not be a trendy style. Like, this may not be like something that a lot of people are wearing, but she looks so happy and so comfortable and so confident. And I love that. Like, I love when that happens, when someone's like, I want to use something that I really love and like transform it for this event and like wear it, and she just seems like happy and confident. And I think that's what fashion is all about, being happy and confident and not having to buy something to like wear something, you know? If you go somewhere, you can look at your closet, you can try to upcycle it, you can try to re-envision it. Like, we don't need to buy something just to go out. So that's very awesome. I love to see this. I love her ethos of actually transforming something and wearing it to an important event. So cool. I love this. This is like inspiring my faith in humanity again, even though I've been reading some very disappointing news bits in the beginning of this live stream, but this is what makes me excited. Like, talented people like actually caring and reusing and doing stuff that they think is right for their values. So that's awesome. So I'm gonna get a bit distracted because someone is knocking on the door. It's most likely my relative coming in the house. My internet may start falling apart because of all the people in the kitchen that's next to the basement. I don't think anyone else is home, so he's probably gonna keep knocking. I don't care. We're gonna move on. So yeah, we're gonna move on. So the Denver Fashion Week actually happened, and it's loading. I froze for a second. But yeah, there was a Denver Fashion Week, and there was a lot of sustainable fashion fits. There's a lot of photos in this article, like this, back behind the scenes. Very fun. I've never known that Denver had a fashion week, but now that I'm live streaming and trying to keep up with what's happening across the nation, this has been a learning journey. Actually, I think I'm going to take a small break and answer the door because I feel kind of guilty leaving the person out there just trying to figure out what's happening inside. So I'm going to go answer the door. But we're going to put the Denver Fashion Week show on, and hopefully I don't get copyright striked. Denver Fashion Week. Okay, let's watch this one. And I'll be right back. I have to answer that door. I'm not going to be mean. I'm going to actually answer the door. Let's do that.
Good morning, I'm Erica Lopez with your e-blog today. Denver Fashion Week is underway. We're so excited. Saturday was the first of 8 shows, and there will be continuing all week long. This week, y'all, I'm trying my hand at walking the runway for the first time ever. She's the only person who could convince me to do this. My dear friend and designer Skye Barker Moss. Skye, thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You look fabulous.
Thank you, as you, always.
I'm not in one of your designs today, but do you want to tell me about this one?
Sure. This is a metallic aqua stretch knit, which is my favorite fabric, and it looks great on everyone.
It looks great. A little wrap. It's giving the vibes. Sky Air is, of course, your designer name, but we're going to see you under this week. Remind me again how many collections you're showing this week.
So this year I'm doing the Adaptive Show,
which is tonight.
Tonight, the Maximalism Show, which is Wednesday, and the Youth and Teen Mommy and Me on Sunday.
Y'all, she's doing 3 whole collections. She's doing it all. We're so excited. Of course, we mentioned Adaptive is tonight. Do you want to share a little bit about what we'll experience if we come tonight?
Sure. So Adaptive is an amazing show. It's run by Guided by Humanity. I have 7 models.
Amazing.
My models range in terms of, I have 3 models who are, I guess, rolling in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
I have a couple of other models who have some cognitive disabilities.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I have a couple of other models who have limb differential. So. Pretty exciting. I'm a huge advocate for the community and also love the opportunity to make adaptive clothing, which actually isn't that hard.
No.
We should all be doing it.
We should be doing it. It's so special. Adaptive a couple seasons ago came in and it's just grown so much, and I love that we're bringing this inclusivity factor to Denver Fashion Week, as well as some really high fashion. So let's talk about Wednesday. The theme is maximalism. You went all out. I love the theme and your vision. So give us a little bit of a sneak peek of like what we're gonna see on the runway.
Sure, so it is maximalized. I have a huge team of hair and makeup professionals that are amazing.
The best of the best.
The best of the best. A huge team of models. I have 20 models, including a certain TV personality. On the runway. But it's maximalism, which means you can go as far as you want to. And I'm known for that anyway, so they've just sort of turned me loose in that category. We have a butterfly and cocoon theme, and we are focused on social causes, of which one of them is disability, so one of them harkens back to adaptive, so there's some overlap there.
You have a little bit of everything in the show. Your daughter is going to be in the show as well, who is a ballerina, and I don't want to give anything away, but can you tell us like a little, maybe something special we're going to see from Sloan?
Sure. So my daughter may or may not be dancing. I don't want to give anything away. She may be dance walking, I guess.
Yes.
But actually, I feel like every model is an opener and a closer.
Oh,
so
I love that.
It's maximalism. There's not a big opener and a big finale. It's just like
everyone's
open
amazing.
finale, open finale, open finale.
I
so
love
it's
it.
just, we're going to keep everybody rock and rolling the whole time.
Fantastic. Okay, so we have a couple things behind us here, couple dresses, just to kind of show off what you're working with this season and in general. Pink, yellow is really the color of the season.
I slip yellow into every collection. I get into trouble, I slip into yellow so much. These are actually Mommy and Me fashions. Because I didn't want to give anything away for the butterfly show because the looks are so big and my team has been working so hard. But I did.
And Mommy and Me is Sunday.
Mommy and Me is Sunday.
So go to that and support. Bring your daughters and, you know, your family.
Yes, it's so fun. It's such a great show.
Okay, and then we didn't want to give my whole look away.
We didn't want to give your whole look away.
But I'm going to have some wings, y'all.
You're
It's
gonna
as close
have
as I'm getting
some
to Victoria's
wings.
Secret, okay?
You wouldn't be a beautiful butterfly without your little wings.
I cannot wait.
So here you go.
I feel like it's like White Swan mixed with Victoria's Secret,
That's
my look.
exactly what it is. It's very, your look is very textural.
Yes.
I think you're going to destroy the runway. I can't wait. So
I'm
thank
so
you
excited.
for walking for me.
She showed me like the hair and makeup inspo, and I am just like, I'm freaking out because it's an honor to walk. I go to all of these shows. I've seen you show so many times and you impress me so much.
Thank you.
So it's an honor really that you're gonna have me walk in the show on Wednesday. Is there anything out of the 3 collections you've made for this season that you're most excited about?
I mean, I'm definitely most excited for maximalism because I feel like it's couture. So couture is handmade, hand sewn, and I definitely hand sewed the whole collection.
You're impressive.
Like every tiny little detail was me, like with my little granny arthritic hands, just like up until wee hours in the morning. So I'm super proud of it, and I can't wait.
You should be.
And they're all super big.
Yes, big, fabulous. Bigger is better, right?
Yes.
No, just so happy to highlight our local designers because you're here, but you really go everywhere. So we're honored to have you.
I do.
So again, thank you, Sky.
Thank you.
And we want everyone to know how they can come out and support Denver Fashion Week this week. It's already underway. Shows tonight through the week through May 17th. I'm going to be walking for Sky Air on Wednesday for the Maximalism show. We hope you come get tickets really to any of the shows. They're all going to be great. DenverFashionWeek.com is how you can go ahead and do that. We'll
Okay. Very interesting. It seems like it's such a fun little event to go to. I like the ethos of the designer. She was very like intentional about the models that she was doing and like how every piece is a opening look or like a closing look. So very cool. May 13th through the 17th, right? That's what they said.
I air on Wednesday for the
May 14th through 17th. Nice. Okay. Very fun. I love that designer so much. Okay, fun. And there's like so many pieces. I'm just astounded how many fashion shows are happening everywhere, and I had no idea, but it just goes to show that there's so much talent in every single nation. And everyone is incorporating sustainable fashion and social justice or like social issues within their collections in a different way, and yet still being so creative and so artsy. Oh, I love this piece. I don't know who made this one. They're just showing us the photos, but I love this piece. Very nice. Very nice. And I just randomly Google stuff all the time, so I wonder if all the other designers have like some sustainability orientation, or like they're all trying to like do things handmade, or I just wonder why that designer particularly wanted to make everything handmade. But I think it's a good sign that the designer that was featured was like a sustainable fashion designer, so I think others are also very like-minded in creating like handmade items. I can't assume obviously, but I can predict that there's other people that are trying to like do sustainable fashion pieces of some sort on a localized level. But very awesome, very cool. Day one as a fashion volunteer, Denver Fashion Week vlog. Oh, we should watch this one. I'm gonna get copyright striked. Raw. No music, please. Dang.
Good morning. It is a beautiful day that the Lord has made, and I welcome you to Denver Fashion Week behind the scenes. Today's vlog is dedicated to showcasing the true production that happens when throwing a major event, specifically in this case, a week-long fashion show. As an aspiring creative director, signing up as a first-time volunteer for Fashion Week falls literally right up my alley for the type of rooms I want to be in as I establish my career. The event is supposed to be taking place at a warehouse-like venue, so of course, setting a good impression, I'm up bright and early and looking forward to seeing the location. I wanted to ensure that I had the right place, and coming early gave me a chance to scope out the area. After scoping out the space, I found that I came way too early and literally no one was there, so I decided to take some time to explore. Further down, I came across this really beautiful and open area with lots of space and surrounding buildings. It kind of just gave me the chance to film some extra content while I paid listen.
I'm here, I'm inside. This is what it's looking like, the warehouse. It's very spacious, very big. I'm not exactly sure like what all is going to be done and how it's going to be done, but it's going to get done. So very exciting stuff.
Roughly 30 minutes later, I've gotten the chance to meet the other volunteers and we were put right to work. Our first task was unfolding the pre-made banners and setting them up around the venue. Our event coordinator was super attentive and facilitated the ideas of how we would set up the banners, also being sure to walk us through the layout of the venue where furniture and set areas would be. Alrighty guys, it's day 2 of Denver Fashion Week and we are still setting up. Okay, this is kind of the warehouse area. This is what we're looking at. We had to get a bunch of furniture in tomorrow, so today is really kind of where we're setting up the furniture, and we have to set it up exactly how it needs to be because tomorrow is the first day of the show. We're gonna go ahead and start setting up chairs and get this place together for the runway. Area. This area will be exclusive to just the models, hairstylists, and makeup artists for the entirety of the event. There was also a huge VIP section spaced out in the venue for special guests that we meticulously arranged with cocktail tables, lounge chairs, and vintage decor. By the end of the day, we had majority of all the furniture setups. We began prepping guest passes and bands for tomorrow's participants. We had the runway up and running with lights, flooring, chairs, and the rest is yet to come. Either way, I thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video, Denver Fashion Week Behind the Scenes Part 2. Bye!
Oh. Very interesting. Yeah, I had no idea this was happening, so I like to see the behind the scenes. She still makes videos too. Very nice. Making pictures in a bathtub? Or taking pictures in a bathtub? Oh. Oh. Oh, 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 oh. Da, da, da. I like her content. Hopefully she's involved in the Denver one, the Denver Fashion Week this year. I would love to see more content from her, but if not, that's okay. She seems creative. I like that. But to move on, I'm actually going to talk about other things just because of time. I'm always running out of time. I wish I could live stream for like hours and hours and hours, but I can't, sadly. But we're going to move on. We're going to talk about the mingle, the manja, I don't know how to say this. The minje. I don't want to offend anyone. This international museum. It's based in San Diego, and basically came across it because it has a lot of cultural fashion exhibitions in it, and this image just took my breath away. Like, the jacket is super cool, and I had to know more because I was like looking through sustainable fashion and like cultural fashion, and I came across this and I was like, I need to know more. So yeah, basically this international museum is presenting the fashioning as icon version of Guadalupe imagery and textile design, and this is an exhibit. that features creative work and textiles, clothing, and accessories inspired by Virgin of Guadalupe, a symbol of motherhood, hope, and Mexican identity. Very lovely, very lovely. And basically, here's more photos. One person in particular blended her sense of indigenous and Christian traditions and its deeply rooted in cultural pride. So the exhibition will feature 70 artists from Mexico along with other talented local artists that will share their interpretation of the Virgin of Guadalupe, also known as Our Lady of Guadalupe or La Virgen. One standout is San Diego artist Claudia Rodriguez, and that was her. This is Claudia Rodriguez. And then below we have other pieces, and they were made from different materials. So like for her, she made them from upcycled materials inspired by her origins in Guadalajara. And it further says here that she used upcycled materials like suede, leather, and cotton flannel. And Rodriguez also is running a slow fashion business called So Loca, located in Chicano Park neighborhood of Barrio Logan. This is like everything I kind of love, like cultural work, Mexican work, religion, sort of symbolism. I'm no longer practicing Catholicism, but I was raised Catholic. So this hits a sense of like familiarity, but also like it's not really something I practice anymore, if that makes sense. It's just something I'm familiar with. But yeah, this is So Loca, not sponsored. Everything I talk about is just because I'm curious. Like I just came across this right now, but this is so Loca. And what is this? Don't. Oh, we should watch those. So Loca is slow fashion clothing brand established in 2013 by Chicana clothing artist and fashion designer Claudia. Uses upcycled materials and vintage fabrics to create and rework one-of-a-kind clothing and accessories. Whoa. She seems cool. What is this? She won the best clothing store in San Diego in 2022. Con los terroristas. Oh my god, I'm gonna get copyright striked. That's okay. We're gonna move on. Cool. Wait, full on stalker mode right now? So it's based in San Diego, California. Claudia Rodriguez. Ooh, she has a following. There you go. I've never heard of her. That's very interesting. Says we already have stuff that's been made. How can we utilize those goods to convert them so you can fall in love with them again? Very interesting. Very interesting. Seems like she has a podcast out. Ooh, okay. What is this? Podcast that explores the intersection of untamed creativity and seasoned wisdom. Chrome City CA. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Oh gosh, no, this is not hers. I was just getting lost in tangents over here. No, she was part of a podcast or featured on a podcast. Okay, so we're just gonna watch this real quick and then go back to the original article because I am losing track.
You know, like I always kind of thought like, wow, I'm way too brown and I'm way too dark. So I always kind of felt like a little ashamed of all those kind of things. And then growing up and being able to find a community where you're embraced and like there's beauty behind all this cultural stuff. I felt like I really like challenged myself and created something that was a true representation of who I am and the struggles that I faced as trying to still to this day find that identity as like a first generation Chicana. I feel like those kind of pieces, they heal a little part of my soul and they add this pride to like who I am. My name is Claudia Rodriguez Bazunski. I'm the owner, designer, and creator of So Loca. My parents are immigrants from Mexico, a little small like ranch in Guadalajara. My dad had a denim factory and I would go in there into the garage and ask my dad, hey, do you need help? And he would be like, sure. And so I learned a lot of things from my dad. Once I was like a teenager, I really got into like the punk scene. My mom would take me to the thrift store. I would grab like the piece of clothing and then like turn it into something else. I ended up going to a trade school to study upholstery. I felt like the natural thing for me to do was open up a sewing studio. We transitioned into doing tailoring and custom sewing. I think towards like the end of 2019, I felt like I was just kind of like a tool where people just had like these ideas and I was just this tool to get them to like the finish line. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I really would like to just focus on like my own designs and see where that could go. Then February 2020 came and we just stopped everything and we made 10,000 masks to give away to our community. When no one was asking for masks anymore, we're just kind of like, hey, where's our business gonna go? I just started designing and reworking some clothes that I've had in like my own personal collection. And so we documented the process, put it on Instagram and put it on our website, and like it would sell out within like 5 minutes. And so we're like, we might have something here. People don't really take sewing as an art. And so for me, I'm like, sewing is an art. So like, I always want to like change that narrative and basically be like, well, people don't invite me to be part of their art shows, so I'll throw my own art show. We've got over 40 different artists for our Sewing is Life art show. We totally transformed the whole entire studio. It's like a big event and we're like, we know how to throw parties. But it's a lot of fun, you know? And I feel like we make sure that artists feel like seen and validated and that their hard work is also matched by our hard work. For the live performance, we had a sewing machine on one side of the room. And so the performers were like right next to me and they were just kind of like performing while I was like sewing. The whole entire time, like I just had like goosebumps and it was awesome. When you live in the community that you also work in, you start to kind of like see like all these people as like family. And these people are family to me, you know? It's important to like be able to utilize your ancestral DNA to basically be like, how do we thrive as a community? How do we thrive as a brown community? I never would have imagined like having like the title of like an artist or like a designer or like a community leader or anything like that, you know? Like I never imagined myself in those positions. I really don't want to cry, but you know, it makes me feel like really good and I'm really like proud of our community.
That's so awesome. What the hex? I also came into sustainable fashion or soul fashion, however you want to describe it, through this grunge DIY perspective. I was really into punk rock music when I was growing up as a teenager, and that got me into grunge aesthetics. And if you don't know anything about like that movement, it's all about doing it yourself. So like taking pieces and like messing it up on purpose to look like the anti-establishment or to be anti-establishment, to buy thrifted, to wear flannels, to wear things that are ripped or dirty or just are not as put together as society wants us to be. So I deeply resonate with the aesthetic of the plaid and of like the grunge and the subcultures, and also this element of like anti-establishment. And so fashion is anti-establishment when the normalized thing to buy is fast fashion, and that's called normal fast fashion or normal fashion. So yeah, I really do love this. I really wish I was in San Diego now, but I will enjoy and just admire it from afar. It's really nice to see that she is actively doing stuff for her community. Like, it's so much more than just like to make products. It's a community effort. I do wish that I could visit though. Like, I wish I could go visit. She does a lot of interviews, which is really cool. And I think she has a podcast, Skills Pay Bills. There you go. Very nice. Very cool. I wonder where these podcasts are at. Oh, here it is.
Or whatever, and so they put like a little like tag on like my door, and I was like, what does that mean? And so I like show up, and there's like a little yellow tag on like the door, and I was like, what does that mean? And so I go inside, and like I turn on the lights, and they won't turn on, and I was like, oh shit, they fucking turned off. And so I looked at the yellow paper, and it was like, we've turned off your lights. And I was like, oh my God, they freaking turned off my.
Please let them know what SB 707 is.
So it's basically a new bill. And what's happening with this new bill is that it's going to basically, anyone that like does manufacturing or production is going to have to register as a nonprofit and take and use clothes.
Is this in California only?
This is in California only, yeah. So there would be more drop-off locations for you to basically go and drop off your clothes and things like that. So, which is good, and then that manufacturer, or are these moving too much? Oh, sorry. Then that manufacturer is going to be able to recycle them in the way that they would want to recycle it. So, it's really up to them how they want to recycle the textiles.
So that seems like it's one step in the right direction of battling textile waste.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also places for like Soloka and other designers that are using recycled fabrics and teaching sewing. I mean, it's all part of the
movement.
And what is the movement called?
Slow fashion.
Slow fashion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Slow. Well, actually, I was going to say slow is kind of like, you feel like you're moving slow.
Yeah.
But actually, slow and steady wins the race.
Slow and steady does win the race.
So fast fashion might seem like they're racking it up right now, because the fast fashion companies, I mean, it just seems like from an outsider's perspective that they are racking up the dough.
Yeah, but you're, again, being enslaved to the thought of something, right? And you're like, money, yes, it's a great resource, but it's like you're racking in the dough off of like other people's backs that like you're exploiting a whole population of people. Like, you could sleep at night knowing that.
I'm just asking the questions. I feel like these are direct. I don't own a fast fashion brand, and I don't know anybody who does. I was just basically saying, yes, that it does seem like companies like Zara and other ones that they've, made a couple of bucks. But you're saying that this was done with there was exploitation involved of others.
For sure. Yeah. Okay, back in the 80s, we used to make 85% of our clothing here in the U.S. Now in 2024, we only make 2%. So it's like that whole industry went somewhere else so it could be cheaper. And so it's like, okay, cool. And they created like the sewing and manufacturing and production and all that as an unskilled trade, where it's like anyone can do it. But it's like, that's not true. So I have the opportunity as like an industrial sewing instructor to basically be able to change that, and to be able to be like, oh, we could bring back manufacturing. And like manufacturing, it looks so different now because we get to decide what it looks like. So that's the awesome part about it. It's really like redefining what we want, especially like for me to teach an industrial sewing class, right? With the emphasis of sustainability. Like, I think that that's freaking awesome, because most places that are not, that are manufacturing and doing production and stuff like that, they don't care anything about sustainability or like recycling or doing any of that kind of stuff. And so it's
okay, very amazing leader. There's a lot to learn here in this podcast. It's called Skills Pay Bills, and it features her in the October 2024 episode. Definitely will be listening to that tomorrow as I work in the thrift store putting stuff away. But for now, we're just going to save it. Very amazing, talented lady doing a real difference in San Diego. she did this art upcycled piece for the museum. And there's also another piece here of the puzzle where local artists are also creating other things. So these were made by local artists. So you can see the Guadalupe right there, right there, right there, right there, right there. That was very beautiful. And then let me exit out. And then there's these necklaces, very cute, very talented people, obviously. So I definitely do think these museums and the exhibitions are really needed because it just brings more awareness and inspiration and artistry towards a cultural and religious aspects to our world. And it will be open from September 7th through the August 17th. So it's been open. So September 7th through August 17th. And it'll be open Tuesdays and Thursdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. There you go. Cool, cool, cool. I want to go to San Diego so bad now. Jeez. If only I could afford it. But we're going to go on and talk about some other real cool, exciting stuff. So if you don't know, Fashion Revolution Week is something that happened a couple weeks ago, actually. But they are spread all across the globe, and they have ambassadors and people that really do care about fashion. And Fashion Revolution Italy actually has a film festival that happened in Milan. And there they just shared an event where they brought together cinema, activism, and creative education to foster a deep reflection on ethics and sustainability in the fashion industry. So yeah, they all were coming together to watch the screening of the finalist works, and they were competing actually. So it says here that they were celebrating 2 winning videos selected from dozens of entries competing in the short movie and social media categories. And the festival stems from an initiative by Fashion Revolution Italia, the national branch of the global movement born after the Rana Plaza collapse in 2013, a tragedy that shed light on the inhumane conditions within the fast fashion supply chain. Since then, Fashion Revolution has been working towards a more fair, transparent, sustainable fashion industry, and this year chose to embrace the film medium to amplify its mission, collaborating with IED, a key institute in training new generations of conscious designers and creatives. So here is one of the films. So this is just a short little film showcasing and exploring the possibility that our abandoned garments might one day emerge with the natural world and regenerate as part of the ecosystem's life cycle. Very cool. But yeah, that was just one example of what we can do as creatives to move forward with sustainable fashion. Like, even if it's just a small 18-second video, like, it does make a difference because we're thinking about fashion, we're thinking about ethics, we're thinking about nature, we're coming together as a community and doing something that otherwise would have probably been dismissed. So every effort does count, and I do think that this intentionality is like really, 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 really essential to create the change on a collective level. But yeah, there's a lot of like leading people. There's directors, creative directors, sustainable fashion activists. Yeah, it was a really great little space to talk about sustainability and fashion. So I really do respect Fashion Revolution and how it's branched out all across the world on like a decentralized level that has never really been seen around this topic. So shout out Fashion Revolution. But I do think I'm going to cut it off and talk about a couple more things before I head off. So for example, like there was a fashion week over in China that had some elements of sustainability where it was called Weaving Without Borders. And it was basically just bringing together like runway shows and artists together, showcasing knitwear, and it blended technology, theater, music, and intangible cultural heritage to create a new fashion narrative. So let's see if there's any YouTube videos on this, but basically there was like 50 pieces that was featured in other fashion weeks, and there was different designers of all sorts, and it was basically creating this dialogue between traditional and modern tailoring within Chinese or neo-Chinese aesthetics. So it's very interesting how cultural fashion can be basically interpreted or colonized by others, and then it becomes a bit more Western or becomes a bit more colonial in the process of like globalization, which is sad. But yeah, they were saying that there was like also virtual fashion elements, robotic fashion, and eco-friendly materials within the collections as well. So let's definitely take a look to see if there's any concrete videos we can watch to enjoy. But if not, just know that all across the nation there is designers trying to like retain their culture in midst of neo-colonial inspirations, which is kind of inescapable sometimes to deal with. Neo-colonial influences are everywhere. Sadly enough, I probably will jump off too because my voice is leaving. I can barely talk anymore. But let's see this video before we head on off. But it's been such a great fun live stream. It's been very, very informative, to say the least, of like what's happening with major brands and like how they're profiting off of sustainable fashion, yet there's always so many leaders and designers everywhere trying to do their own small part, even when it feels like this is just a doomed industry. But it doesn't have to be. And I think if we retain our culture, our inspiration, and our resistance against colonial and capitalistic, pursuits, we can probably have a chance to addressing the collective systemic issues in the industry. So as always, I'm holding on to hope, and I hope you're holding on to hope. So let's watch this. Alrighty. Don't we just love China? Don't we just love Chinese fashion? As Americans, don't we just love them? The live stream is coming to an end, and it's been a journey. It's been 2.5 hours of learning and grappling and questioning and figuring out what the heck brands are doing and why they're doing it. My eyes are bloodshot. Oh, Joyce, just need to take these eye contacts off. Oh, these eye contacties. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you for the patience and for watching this live stream. There is a lot of improvements to be made. A lot of stuff is coming in May. I know I work on things very slowly, but slowly and surely wins the race, right? Things will continue to improve, and I will continue to do a lot of different things to make sure these live streams are functioning. If you like the recorded or are watching in real life, in real time, let me know what you enjoyed, and I will continue to improve and work on those things. But as always, it's been a pleasure. I will be going on live Friday, 9 a.m. Central Time, so look forward to that. It is a new time. I've never tried a live stream that early at 9, so we'll see how it goes. I think I'll be a bit more energetic, but who knows? You never really can tell with my energy levels. And yeah, thank you, Marissa, for jumping on as always. I'm excited to keep on doing this and improving and getting more of a mindset that I know what I'm doing. But yeah, hopefully y'all learned something. Hopefully you learned something, enjoyed it somehow. But I'll be closing out this live stream. Just a girl in Illinois working in thrift store jobs and live streaming and doing her videos. So bye, friends. See you Friday, 9 a.m. Central Time. Bye.